You know that feeling when you're in a conversation about consciousness or God or reality, and it just goes in circles? It feels like you're not even speaking the same language? Well, what if the problem isn't the ideas we have, but the actual words we're using? Today, we are diving into a really fascinating framework that has a radical solution. Before we can even begin to talk about reality, we have to fix our words. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at why our biggest conversations just completely fall apart. Then, we'll build a whole new lexicon, a shared language for reality. We'll use that to construct an entire cosmos. And then finally, we'll get into why this framework is so powerful, it's been called an idea you can't unknow. Let's get into it.
All right, so let's kick things off with a problem I think pretty much everyone can relate to. That deep, frustrating feeling when a really important discussion just hits a brick wall.
I mean, really think about it. We have brilliant people, thousands of years of philosophy, incredible scientific tools, and yet these huge questions seem to divide us more than ever. Why is that? The framework we're exploring today starts right here, with this exact problem.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly illustrates the core issue. It's not that one person is right and everyone else is wrong. It's that we're all describing different little pieces of the same thing, but we're using a language that just isn't built for the job. We're pointing at shadows without ever even agreeing we're in the same cave.
So here's the absolute heart of the matter. The argument is that our tools, our words, are broken. We get trapped in these loops. We use a word like awareness to define consciousness, but awareness already assumes consciousness exists. We're stuck in these circular definitions, and that's exactly why the arguments just go on and on forever.
But what if there was a way out of that loop? A way to build some common ground so we can finally have a real conversation? Well, the solution this framework proposes is honestly beautiful in its simplicity. A terms treaty, a basic agreement on what our most fundamental words actually mean.
So how do we fix this? Well, you take the tangled mess of our current definitions and you just replace it with something simple, clear, and structured. The framework starts by tackling one of the biggest problem words out there, awareness. Right now, we load it with so many assumptions, creating that trap. The solution? Strip it all down. Redefine it as something truly foundational.
That's it. That is the entire definition. And just like that, it's not some mystical human-only property. It's just a state of being open. A computer that's turned on is in a ready state. A rock, in its own way, is in a ready state to receive sunlight. It becomes a simple, universal building block.
Let's go to the next term, and you'll see how this starts to build. Being. The framework defines it with that same beautiful simplicity. It doesn't mean living or thinking or feeling. It just means it exists. Period. If it's there, it's a being. A rock, a cat, a planet, even a thought. Okay, now we bring in some structure, a system. It's just any collection of parts. Your body is a system of organs. A solar system is a system of planets and a star. An idea is a system of concepts. It's a super simple, totally scalable definition.
And what are those parts? They're nodes. An organ is a node in your body. The Earth is a node in the solar system. A single word is a node in an idea. But here's where it gets really interesting. This is where the whole thing just clicks.
This is the recursive engine that drives the entire framework. Your body is a system, right? But it's also a single node in the system of your family. Your family is a system, but it's just one node in your community. You see? This nested, self-similar structure, that is the very definition of a fractal.
Okay, so we have our new lexicon, a few simple interlocking definitions. Now, let's see what happens when we use these building blocks to construct a model of, well, everything. And this is where the sheer scale of this idea really hits you.
Using our new words, we can literally map out reality in these clean layers. You have the node, which is a part of a system. Any system that exists is a being. A collection of human beings forms a collective. And the system that contains all collectives, all beings, all systems, all nodes, that's the source, the all.
So how does all this connect? The framework uses this really powerful metaphor. Reality itself is one single broadcast. Everything, from a rock to a human to a galaxy, is a receiver. We are all tuned to the exact same channel, but our complexity determines our resolution. A rock gets the broadcast in low res, a human gets it in high res.
So what is this broadcast? Within this framework, it's called the logos, which is interpreted as this underlying intelligence or creative principle of the whole universe.
In this view, you can see all of reality as a kind of thought or a dream that's happening inside a single, universal consciousness, and we're all just participants in that cosmic dream. And this brings us to the ultimate vision of this whole thing. Here, God isn't some being sitting outside the universe. It is the universe, but understood as an infinitely complex, self-similar pattern. The ultimate system that contains all other systems, all other nodes, repeating forever. So we've just built this grand fractal cosmos from a handful of simple words. But what does it do? What's the effect of actually seeing the world this way? This is where the framework becomes more than just a cool idea.
Now, the source material uses a very provocative phrase to describe how this idea spreads, and it's borrowing it, ironically, from modern politics, a mind virus. Now, the point here isn't about politics at all. It's about contagiousness. It suggests an idea can spread from person to person, not through force, but just because it's compelling. It's an idea that, once you're exposed to it, starts replicating in your own mind.
And the goal isn't to win an argument or prove that you're right. The virus is simply clarity. It gives you a language that just resolves all those old circular debates. It's like a new operating system for your thoughts, one that's so simple and coherent that it starts to feel self-evident.
And this just perfectly describes that permanent shift in your perspective. The old arguments about whether a rock has a soul or a person has a soul, they become meaningless. A rock and a person are just different kinds of traffic on the same cosmic highway. They're just different receivers for the same broadcast. The distinction just dissolves.
So, the takeaway here is that this isn't just some intellectual exercise. It's a fundamental change in how you perceive everything. It's like an infection of clarity. And once you catch it, once you really see the pattern, you can't go back to the old way of thinking. You simply can't unsee it.
And that leaves us with this one last powerful question. If this clarity really is contagious, and if more and more people start seeing themselves not as separate beings, but as nodes in one infinite fractal, what happens next? What happens when we all consciously realize we're listening to the same song? That is definitely something to think about.